In 2008, the town of Kingston was forced to cut the Kingston Public Library's budget by 10%, putting it in danger of losing its Massachusetts state accreditation. A group of concerned citizens came together to form what we know today as the Kingston Public Library Foundation. In its first year, the foundation raised over $50,000, allowing the library to purchase the books and computer resources required to keep its accreditation. On today's episode of Good Day Kingston, I'll sit down with Stephen Clinch and Ellen Cook of the Kingston Public Library Foundation, an organization that continues to bring new programs, new technology, and a renewed energy to the Kingston Public Library. For those of you who are unfamiliar with their work, I hope that this will serve as an introduction to an organization that works tirelessly to strengthen and supplement our library programs when town funds simply aren't enough. Steve and Ellen, thank you both for joining us today on Good Day Kingston. For the folks who are watching at home, can you just tell us a little bit about who and what the Kingston Public Library Foundation is?
Sure.
Steve?
Sure. Well, my name is Steve Clinch. Thank you for inviting us. The Kingston Public Library Foundation is a somewhat independent arm of the Kingston Public Library. And we're charged with supporting the library in all ways of volunteerism and giving financial support to things and projects that the library would have a difficult time funding in today's world without us. We're very proud of the kinds of things we've done, and really, we're not fixing holes in the roof, but we're doing things to bring resources and capital equipment to the library that perhaps we otherwise wouldn't have.
Great, and I'm sure we'll get into what some of those technology endeavors were and the programs and projects. Yeah. But before we get there, can you just, I guess, spend a little bit more time introducing yourselves and what brought you to Kingston and what's motivated you to become so involved with the Kingston Public Library?
Okay, I'm Ellen Cook. I've lived in Kingston for 15 years. Became involved with the library just because libraries have always been important in my life, and I think that a vital community has a vital library. So I checked it out very soon after I moved here. And about several years later, I was trying different volunteer opportunities in the community and stopped by the library and was talking to Sia. And this was, probably 12 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. And at that time, the trustees of the library had decided that fundraising was really not their responsibility. They were elected by the town to oversee the governance of the library, to make sure things were operating properly, and they didn't see themselves as spending time raising money. So their solution was to form a foundation that would raise the money for the library. Well, I'd had a background in nonprofits and done some fundraising, and Sia asked if I would be willing to volunteer my time to kind of consult with them on forming this foundation. So that was my original task, just to be sort of a volunteer consultant. And from there, ended up on the foundation, and after that, president of the foundation. So it's been a very rewarding experience for me.
And how about you, Steve?
Well, I'm an amateur painter. And
you're being very modest.
Yes,
right now. You're
I agree.
A very talented amateur painter.
A couple of years ago, I saw an ad in the paper about the library providing space for displaying work, and so I applied and was accepted. And I found the library staff to be incredibly helpful and welcoming, and I just had a really good sense for the library. So I started getting involved a little bit right at the end of the capital and grant campaign that ultimately was unsuccessful. And so like the day after, I went in to see the director, Sia Stewart, and I said to her, I feel so bad about this. It was such a wonderful opportunity, maybe there are some things that I could do. I would stock shelves. I would, oh, we can give you something better. Let me introduce you to this Ellen Cook, all right? And that's the way I got started. Ellen had us over for coffee, and the next thing I knew, I was on the board, and the next thing I knew, she was saying, well, could you be president for a year?
It's time I got off.
So she kind of reeled me in for all of this. And it's been wonderful. We've met a lot of great people. And Josh, we have both a board of trustees and a foundation board today that is full of energetic young people who not only say we should try to do this, they actually take the ball and do it. So it's been just wonderful.
That's fantastic. So as a founding member of the foundation, Ellen, how have you seen it grow over the last decade?
In the very beginning, we were sort of feeling our way. We started out with, doing a letter, once a year, trying to raise some money, and we still do donor letters and everything. But for a number of years, the primary focus was, of course, on raising pledges, to help with the new library. Now we're changing our focus and trying to figure out ways of making the most of the library that we have right now, and how can we best meet the needs of the community within the space constraints that we have. As Steve said, we're using the Adams Center a lot more, and I think that's exciting. But again, we're doing a lot more with events,
Yes.
as we discussed.
So speaking of events, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are coming off the heels of what I would say is one of the biggest and most successful events I've seen in Kingston in the years I've lived here. I mean, there were hundreds of people in the library parking lot a few weeks ago for, I just want to make sure I get the name right, the first annual KPLF Library Beer Festival. And I want to make a point to say the first annual, because as somebody who was there all day, I certainly hope that there is a second and a third and a fourth annual. But I mean, when you founded the organization or helped found the organization, did you ever imagine that you'd see a parking lot full of people sampling craft beer, listening to live music, sampling and doing demonstrations on, video games and metal detectors and all the wonderful things that you can now borrow from the library? Was that even in your mind?
It's certainly not mine. As Steve said, now we've got a new generation of younger people and everything. I don't know that Steve and I, between us, would have come up with that idea, but we're also very committed to not saying, that's not going to work, or we've never done it that way before. Somebody comes up with a new idea and is ready to run with it, we want to give them their lead. And Lisa, who you know well, was so excited about this. She worked so hard with her whole committee, and they just did a fantastic job. And of course, it was nice, too, seeing the agricultural fair going on right down the street, and people running between the two events.
Yeah, there was
It was wonderful.
A lot of cross-pollination with folks who'd start at the agricultural fair and then come down to the library and vice versa. And what was, I mean, for anybody who was there, it was clearly a fundraiser. How much money was raised?
There was, I think we netted over 8,000. Somewhere between 8,000 and 9,000 was netted, because I looked at just the trivia event that we had earlier in the year, and between the trivia event and the library, we made it about $10,000, which
incredible.
Which was terrific.
Yeah, and my understanding too is that the purpose of the library event and the trivia event are certainly to raise money for the library, to help support the programs that otherwise wouldn't be funded, or the technology that otherwise wouldn't be funded by the town. But another big piece, I mean, it seems like at both events, participants were able to check out virtual reality headsets. They were able to demo metal detectors and different video game systems. There were board games. And it really seems like, in addition to a fundraiser, it's also an opportunity to introduce people to the other ways that the library supports the community. It's not just books and DVDs, it's so much more.
Yeah, it shouldn't just be fundraising, it should also be sort of fundraising as well. And, libraries in today's world are so much more than book warehouses. Libraries are designed now to be gathering places, safe spaces, places where young people and older people can go and feel comfortable gathering knowledge, getting cultural enrichment, doing all those kinds of things. And yeah, okay, we're a little bit space challenged and would have been delighted to have a much bigger and more modern facility, but that really doesn't stop us. That, you know, we've turned now and said we're going to give this community cultural enrichment, education in the best possible ways we can. So you know, things like the trivia night and the library. When I looked around, the most exciting thing to me was the fact that everybody was smiling and happy and saying, boy, this is a great thing for our community. So that made me feel just wonderful. And both Ellen and I are teaching courses at the Adams Center. I've been teaching now for a while and have brought about 75 people through learning to create digital art with the Apple Pencil and iPads. And I'm blessed by the fact that shortly after I joined the foundation as a board member, I wrote a proposal for the foundation to buy me 10 iPads and Apple Pencils and color laser printers. The foundation authorized $9,000 or $10,000 to provide me with the resources to effectively teach these courses, and it's been wonderful.
And you know, you mentioned there's been over 70 participants, and one of the other remarkable things is just the age range of the participants. Can you tell us that?
I had an 8-year-old, and I've got an 86-year-old right now.
And I'm sure, you know,
and everything in between. I've had mothers and child situations, husband and wife situation. Those can be a little tense, but generally the whole thing has been just pure joy. You don't have to bring anything. It's just nothing but fun learning.
and for me, that's the perfect example of what the foundation's role is in Kingston, and how residents who want to, you know, support the foundation really can play a role. The town didn't provide the funding for the laser printers, the Apple Pens, the iPads. The foundation went out and from Kingston residents raised that money, and now we've got all generations taking advantage of the Adams Center, which is a beautiful building.
Yes.
And when you have it set up for your classrooms, it's just such a great fit. And they're learning from somebody who, again, you're very modest, is an incredibly talented painter. And it's just, it's wonderful that those courses are available for free. They're available to residents. And again, I just think it's a wonderful way to introduce people to the notion that the library is, as you just said, not just a warehouse for books.
And you know, if you go beyond that, we also have another very talented painter, a watercolorist, Ellen Cook, who's going to be teaching her own class starting next week, right?
No, October 3rd.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about that?
This is a Zen Doodle class. If you're familiar at all with Zentangle, it's kind of a form of design and then bringing this into creating artwork. So the nice thing about it is that it can be used for relaxation, but you'd really need absolutely no art talent to create these things the way it's done. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a fun time. It'll be 3 consecutive Wednesdays, and it's on the library website. But if I could backtrack just a speck, if that's okay. We were with the class with the iPads that Steve's teaching. I think one of the other benefits of this is, you know, you spend some money if you're going to be buying an iPad and an iPencil and the whole thing. This is an opportunity to have several weeks to get in there and try this. Is this something I really want to invest in the future?
That's a good point.
So that, you know, they're there for people to try. There's an iPad also in the teen room for people to try and create things and find out, is this for me? And which also brings us to the Library of Things.
Yes.
Which is another opportunity, not just to borrow books, but to borrow tools or games or the kind of thing that you use maybe once or twice a year. You don't necessarily have room to store this and you don't want to spend the money to put it away. You can come into the library and rent it. Not rent it, but borrow it.
And I do love the notion of try it before you buy it, because
Absolutely.
it's really easy to make that investment in an iPad or make that investment in something. I keep using the example of the metal detector because my
that's
family
so
has
much
borrowed
fun.
the metal detector from the Duxbury Library, and we have a lot of fun in the backyard.
Or down on the beach.
Or down at the beach.
Yeah.
But it's it's that opportunity to try it before you buy it. Is this something you're going to use? Is this the model that you
Right.
want? And before you make that personal investment, go check it out. Check it out from the library and see if that is the right device for you.
Yeah.
When you need a laminator, you need a laminator, but you only need a laminator once a year, maybe.
Yeah.
One of the most successful items or subject items that we've had in the Library of Things have been remote Wi-Fi access hubs. We have 5 of them, and we have year-long contracts with Sprint. And you can take out a Wi-Fi hotspot, bring it home, bring it out on your boat, bring it anywhere where a cell phone works, the hotspot works, and you've got a Wi-Fi connection.
So if anybody's watching at home and they're getting ready for ski season and they're looking forward to those
Right. Got a weekend,
ski
you need
weekends
this.
up in New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, please note that Wi-Fi hotspots are available to borrow at the library. That's a great resource, especially in this day and age. One of the things that you mentioned, and I have I guess personal experience in this, is you had said that libraries are more than book warehouses. It's really a community hub, and it's this, that, and everything in between. Being married to Lisa, who's an Uber volunteer at the library and a member of the trustees and the foundation, when we travel, it's like playgrounds for Saul, our son, and libraries for Lisa. And wherever we go, we have to get to a library. And one of the things that I've been really impressed with is the Boston Public Library, where now they have a full television studio. So you might go in to check out a book, but you can also watch them taping the morning news show. And then right next to that, there's a cafe. You can get a really nice meal. You can get a hot drink. Seeing that transformation, seeing that community hub is something that I get really excited about personally. And I know that the foundation just made a significant capital investment in something that is outside the building that I'm hoping you can tell us about, that I know the hope is that advertises these programs, advertises these events, and really drives folks into the library so that we can have that community hub here in Kingston. Can you tell us about that capital investment?
Well, I think most people who travel up and down 3A Summer Street can and has seen that the library has a new sign, Kingston Public Library, and then a big black panel on both sides. That is a digital sign, a 2-sided digital sign that the foundation invested in to allow us to promote what the library has to offer, what the peripheral operations like the Adams Center and the Rec Center can offer, important municipal town event kinds of things, and to do that in probably one of the most visual and heavily traveled areas of the town. We had a lot of discussion about exactly what and how, and involved a lot of people in the design. It's not going to be something where you're going to see cartoons and banners and be able to watch Ellen or whatever. You're basically looking at almost a static, maybe twice a day message. But we're very excited about the fact that here is a today method, another high-tech today method of getting information into our community that goes way beyond the sandwich boards that we're using now.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a huge improvement from the sandwich boards, which served their purpose, and I'm sure you'll be happy and the library staff will be happy to retire, because my understanding is that with the new sign, through a computer, through a device like a cell phone or an iPad, that message can be changed, and it's really a state-of-the-art. What I love about it too is that it's cutting-edge technology, but it looks like it belongs there. I mean, the design is brilliant. I don't know who is behind that, but the brickwork on either side, the copper tops, it looks like it really, belongs on that street between the library and the Adams Center, which are both, brick buildings that have been there for as long as anyone can remember.
We're going to go ahead and have a kind of an electronic ribbon cutting, and that's going to be in concert with the opening of the new historical archive collection across the street in the Adams Center. In fact, it's probably going to be our very first message, and so hopefully we'll throw the switch. The town will be alerted to the archive activity across the street, and that sets us off on another entirely new and progressive path forward.
And
that'll be in October.
That's
That'll
great.
be
And
mid-October, right?
And as we talk about volunteers and folks who are doing great things in town, I also just want to mention that there's a member of the garden club who, when she learned that there'd be some plantings, has donated her time and her resources to help get those in the ground.
correct.
So, a big thanks, I'm sure, to Sandy McFarland
Absolutely.
for helping coordinate that. And I really think that that'll only do more to tie that sign in, and it's just a stunning sign.
I was so struck by her enthusiasm for the project. When I met her at the library and we walked around and stood in front of the sign, and she said, "Wow, this is bigger than I thought. I'm just going to double my number of plants that I'll be putting in." So tomorrow I'll be edging and digging with one of the other trustees to make sure everything's just right, so that Sandy can put her plants in.
It's fantastic. I mean, it's just, I look at the library, I look at what's happening, and I just get so excited. I know that you guys have some other events that are coming up, and I'm just wondering if you'd like to use this opportunity to share those with the folks who are watching at home.
Sure, I'd say two of the big ones. One's coming up in November. And do you want to talk a little bit about Janelle's?
November 5th. Janelle Burley Hoffman. Janelle Burley Hoffman is going to be coming and speaking at the intermediate school. I think it's 6:30 that evening, the details of which will be on the library website. Janelle has made sort of a career of lecturing, teaching about young people and their use of electronic media and how it should be managed and how it can be managed at the family level. I mean, that is an incredibly relevant topic for today. The issue of screen time versus time to converse with one another has become an issue in almost every family. So we're really looking forward to that event. That's going to be a wonderful event that's being heavily promoted just now. That's a great one. And then in April, we've got the gala coming.
We have our second gala. And this one will be celebrating the 10th year of the foundation in operation, so that's sort of exciting. One of the things we'll be doing, for anybody who went to the last gala, we had local artists that painted buoys, and they were then auctioned off. This year we will have the local artists again, and they will be painting birdhouses. And the theme for each birdhouse will be a book that the artist chooses, and they'll be designing the birdhouse from that. But it'll be an opportunity for some good food, some good music, and just a chance to mix with your friends. So be looking for that this April.
Fantastic. And I went to the last gala, and it was a lot of fun.
It was great fun.
And
yeah.
Again, the events that I've been to that have been produced by the KPLF have just been some of the strongest ones. I just want to mention too, and I know about this personally because I've been a regular, but the True Crime Podcast Club that's been supported by a member of the Kingston Public Library Foundation is one of my favorite things.
That's been an exciting new
venture. I look
yeah.
forward to it each month. That group meets in the basement of the Adams Center, which again, I mean, the Adams Center upstairs is a beautiful space for you to teach your drawing courses. The basement where it's a little, it almost feels like you're in a speakeasy and there's brick walls and it's sort of dark. It's a really neat place to go and talk about true crime podcasts. And for anybody who doesn't know, there's this genre of podcast that do investigations. Some of the crimes have been solved, some of them remain unsolved, but most true crime podcasts end with the listener wanting to talk to somebody about what happened, because there's always something that's unexplained. There's always something that really begs for that conversation. And Lindsay Benham, who is a trustee, has just been, who is a foundation member,
Right.
has just been a wonderful, wonderful leader in that group in terms of helping, pick the podcast, curate the conversation, get folks into the room, and there's never a dull moment with that group. So that's another initiative that has been driven by a foundation member.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Another example of this young group of people that we have in both the trustees and foundation who pick up the ball and run with it. Lindsay, absolutely. And actually, Lindsay's sister is Leanne Burley Hoffman. So
Presenter, yeah.
she's
so-
the one who brought
Janelle.
her name to us, and
Yeah.
we're delighted that this is all going to be happening.
That's great. Now, we only have a couple more minutes,
Yes.
so I just want to make sure that we have the opportunity to let folks who are watching at home know how to get involved, how to either become members or to support. I mean, what's the next step if somebody's at home and they say, I really wish that I could support this group. They're doing wonderful work. Where can they go? What can they do?
Well, the first and most basic, we do have our website, the kplf.org. There's also on the website, there's references to email addresses and contact information, that kind of thing. A little bit of history about the foundation, ways to get involved. But we're around, and I'm perfectly happy to talk to anybody at any time, and delighted to go pick up a check no matter where you live. All right.
But yeah, for someone who's interested in volunteering, if you just email at info@kplf.org, Steve or I will definitely respond to your email,
Sure.
answer your questions, put you in the right direction, and we do need volunteers. We're even looking for some additional foundation members, especially someone who maybe has some expertise in finance. That's an area that we are looking for. Or just someone who's got a lot of great ideas and really wants to get involved. Either one of us would love to meet with you.
That's great. And one of the things that I love seeing too at the library event was just the number of volunteers who were there
Yeah, it
and
was
who were there
wonderful.
all day. I know that
Yeah.
there were
Wonderful.
Yeah.
there were 2 tip certified pourers who came down from New Hampshire to volunteer. There were folks who got tip certified so that they were able to pour and volunteer. And it was everything about it just seemed like such a wonderful day. I'm so happy that you had the weather that you had.
Oh, we were so fortunate.
Yeah, and the fundraising numbers were great. So again, I look forward to the second annual, and I look forward to having you both
We
on
do
again
too.
in the future, so that we can talk about the new and exciting things that are going on at the Kingston Public Library that are being supported by the Kingston Public Library Foundation.
Thanks
you,
so
Josh.
much, Josh.